So, making sure that your LinkedIn profile is absolutely completed, up to date, and with correct content is like having a hidden gold mine you never knew that you always had, right? So, LinkedIn profile is completed with the following steps in order. Number one, and most importantly, is your cover photo. Could be a place you visited recently, could be a good quote that you really believe in, right? Next comes your profile picture. Always try to have a profile picture that does not look like a passport picture or a visa picture, right? It should be a nice, candid, sweet, smiling picture. You could also have a picture that's shot for a corporate shot for a corporate way of things at the end of the day with a tie or something that's formal. Well, I chose something a little bit more candid. I have a little wine glass in my hand, so well, you could do that if you want to, right? After that comes your name, and below your name there is something known as your LinkedIn headline. Now, listen to me very, very carefully. The LinkedIn headline is very important because what happens with the LinkedIn headline is that whatever you've been doing currently, whatever you've done in the past, whatever you're pursuing in terms of more career parallels at the end of the day, you could include that right there in your headline, right? So my headline talks about me being one of the trainers in one of the education companies, also a creative director at my agency, a LinkedIn lead generation specialist. There's so many things that I do, right? It's got a gist of my skills, it's got a gist of the kind of work that I'm doing alongside the agency that I'm running. So what happens here is when you have all of this content right in the headline, sometimes we also have a lot of individuals who are looking for that perfect job opportunity. So you put that we're looking for a job opportunity in the field of robotic AI, for example. With all this content, it becomes much easier for those keywords to get indexed on Google and LinkedIn search. So the next time if anybody's looking for something specific, let's say for me, my example is if somebody's looking for a LinkedIn lead generation specialist or a lead generation trainer, for example, my profile will be one of the profiles that they look at from here, India. Correct? So it so does happen because I keep updating my profile, my headline is updated, it's dynamic in nature. I appear in about 90 to 100 searches every week. And I believe that's pretty neat organically, right? So that's important. Please make sure that you're completing that with as correct information as possible, right? Great. Moving on, your education, right? So right from your school education, your kindergarten education, to your college education, to your diploma, to your masters, to your doctorate, and so on and so forth. At any given point of time, you've learned, you experimented, you've done projects, you've got practical experience. So technically from the age of 3, and I believe for nowadays for the age of 2, you grasp and absorb so much of information, so much of content, there's so much of activity that happens. LinkedIn must be the place where you blurt it all out, right? Integral key projects that you handled in school, projects that you did in college, if you've been training in a certain organization for certain skills, you could present your projects there. My point is, whatever you've learned, that becomes the part of your education tenure, and that must be documented on LinkedIn. It's very important, right? Whatever you've learned, seriously, whatever you've learned, no matter how lame it is, no matter how small it is, it does not matter. For me, if I'm a headhunter, I want to know you really, really well, really well. So you make sure whatever you've learned, experimented while you were learning in your entire tenure, even if you're a 50-year-old person, does not matter. Make sure that you document that. Okay? Moving on to the next part. Your work portfolio, your work profile, right? Right from your first internship selling lemonade, or a junior internship, senior internship, junior executive, senior executive, so on and so forth. Every organization or every establishment that you're a part of teaches you something. There's something that you learn, there's something that you understand, there's something that you work in terms of project, there's something that you execute, ideate at the end of the day. All of that must be documented on your LinkedIn profile, right? So for me, if I was working with another company, 10 years ago, I will speak about that company. I will speak about the projects I handled for that company, the kind of documents I created, the presentations that I created for them, and then after that, and so on and so forth, right? So, the person on the other hand could be your prospective client or could be a headhunter, understands that, oh my god, he or she's got a beautiful body of work that they've done right from its first employment or organization up till now. So it becomes easier for them to know you, your domain leadership, your value based content better, right? The more you fill in on LinkedIn, the lesser time you spend talking about your credentials when you meet a prospective client or a prospective employer. Please understand this, right? So there comes your job experience. Moving on, then we come to recommendations. You make sure that a lot of people are recommending you. So start speaking to people, start getting recommendations. Give recommendations to get recommendations, right? So when somebody looks at your LinkedIn profile, education tenure, perfect, documented, correct. Job experience tenure, right from internship to what he's doing right now, well documented with projects, information, content, you name it, all there. Recommendations sorted. Any other activities that you may have done, probably a certificate course or voluntary association with an NGO or CSR activity, whatever it is you've done in your professional tenure of life and work, it must be on LinkedIn as much as possible, right? So that's how you beautify your beautiful content, beautify your beautiful profile on LinkedIn, right? So while I'm going to say this, I believe there's a video that is running that talks about visually telling you exactly what I'm talking about. So enjoy, and I'm going to see you in the next lecture.